Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 12 of the Muscle Memory Podcast. I am your host, Sean. We have a really good episode in store for you this week. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get right into it. All right. As normal, we're going to start off with wrestling, and we're going to start off with a little bit of a rant just because this past weekend, if you guys are into wrestling like I am, it was WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania Saturday, Sunday, all that good stuff. But I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant because WrestleMania didn't feel like WrestleMania this year. And I don't like that. I don't like the fact that, half the matches weren't built the way that they were supposed to be built. There were only a select few matches on the card that had actual build, but there were no real stipulations. There was nothing real on the line. It was just a storyline that just so happened to make sense and just so happened to build itself into WrestleMania, like the Naomi and Jade Cargill match. That was a long-term feud. It was a long-term build, long-term storytelling. Made sense. The feud made sense. The heel turn made sense. Everything made sense into the build of the WrestleMania. Made sense why they were having the match. And yeah, like, to be completely honest, that's one of the only matches on the card that made sense. Then you had matches like the New Day versus the War Raiders. Match didn't really make sense. Match wasn't all that good. The crowd wasn't into it much. Then you had matches like LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. Great match. Just threw off the point of like there wasn't really any build there outside of Jacob Fatu chasing the United States Championship. But there wasn't a real feud between LA Knight and Jacob Fatu because there was always someone else in between them. There was always a middleman. There was always like a Shinsuke or an Andrade or a Braun Strowman or something like that in the middle the whole time on the way to WrestleMania. So it wasn't really a build. It was just more so keep winning these matches to be number one contender. And it kind of threw a lot of things off. Like Dominic Mysterio winning the IC championship. Right decision, great match, horrible build. I'm glad the match was there. I'm glad the match was as good as it was. I'm glad Dom won. Horrible build. Tiffany versus Charlotte. Horrible build. Decent match. Jay versus Gunther. Horrible build. Decent match. Both of those matches, the right person won. I don't think Jey Uso should have been the one to choke out Gunther. I don't get why he had to choke him out. He hit him with 3 Uso splashes. He could have won off of that, but no, they let him choke out Gunther. I don't see Jey Uso as that much of a threat to where he'd be one to choke out Gunther. Hopefully, you guys understand where I'm coming from with this. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that I've been watching wrestling for basically my entire life, and I'm used to the bigger guys being the one to choke people out. And, actual WrestleMania matches meaning something. And, like having storylines and actual video packages going into the matches and like not just this is what happened last week on Raw. This is what happened last week on SmackDown. This is what they said to each other. Yada, yada, yada. Like it's a thing that builds for months and months going into WrestleMania. The road to WrestleMania. It didn't feel like a road to WrestleMania for a lot of those matches. And then you had Cena versus Cody for the Undisputed Championship. Cena got his big 17. Great for him. It's stupid that Travis Scott got involved in the match, and it's stupid that The Rock was a part of that whole heel turn just for The Rock to not show up at all. And then he went back and said that the final boss's work is done, even though he was the initial point for the heel turn. He was the reason John Cena turned heel. Cody didn't sell his soul, so John Cena did. That makes no sense if you're not going to show up at WrestleMania. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get why The Rock does these things. He interjects himself in situations and then takes himself out of it completely because he doesn't want to ruin the plot of it. You made the plot, sir. Do something with it. Like The Rock is the reason John Cena turned heel. He's the reason why we have heel Cena in 2025. Don't you think you should be there at WrestleMania if the whole goal was for Cena to win off of cheating? Instead of sending Travis Scott of all people out there, the guy who busted Cody's eardrum and his receipt was a Crossroads, not even the actual stiff shot back. And I get it, Travis Scott's not in. He's not in the business. He's not a wrestler. He hasn't been trained to do any of that. But you got to realize he hurt one of your workers. Maybe he didn't do it intentionally, but receipts are a thing, and he deserved one at WrestleMania. He should have got one. That Crossroads was just not enough. And Travis Scott, man. Like, you put a rapper in a wrestling ring and made him a deciding factor in someone winning a championship. That makes absolutely no sense, dude. That makes no sense whatsoever. Like, at all. And I get it. You want to put more eyes on the brand. You want to get Travis Scott's fans into the brand and all that. You want to get more people to hear his music and all that. And then, I don't know, maybe you want to like put more eyes on WWE by using Travis. I don't know what their goal is here. But to be completely honest, it's stupid that Travis is being used more than The Rock is, and The Rock's actually a wrestler. The Rock's actually in the business. I get The Rock's not full time anymore, but his final boss character was a very quintessential point in this entire storyline happening. So, could we have just had Cena turn authentically? Yes, that would have been perfectly fine. See, all right, because I don't like when there are the plan doesn't make sense, Like when the plan doesn't make sense and then the match doesn't make sense because the plan didn't make sense, I don't like it. And then I have to say something about it. This is one of those situations. So now I'm going to say something about it. If you were going to have Cena turn at Chamber, cool. If that was always the plan, fantastic. Here's how I would have done it to ensure that when WrestleMania came around, no one had to get involved. Cena could have cheated on his own. Cena could have won that belt as a heel perfectly fine, no outside help. You don't bring out Travis Scott. You don't let The Rock interject himself into it. And I get it, The Rock's on the board, but he does not have all the power of the board. He can still get shot down creatively. Like, make it known, hey, this is not the plan. But we're going to have him turn on his own fruition, not through him selling his soul or anything like that. Basically, throw the whole selling souls idea out of the window. He never has that stupid talk with Cody about selling his soul and wanting him to be his champion and all that. None of that ever happened. Cody goes to the chamber to congratulate Cena. They do their little handshake and hug and all that. Cena does the low blow. That's the heel turn. That's it. That's the heel turn. The promos stay the same. He doesn't switch anything that he's been doing. Everything that he's been doing as a heel stays the same. Same promos, same entrance. Same way that he said that you're not getting anything, keep that. Everything that Cena has done in terms of ruining wrestling works. It fits the character that he's trying to portray. Because it's not John Cena versus Cody, it's John Cena versus the people. If you paid attention to how he's trying to portray this character. Cut The Rock out of it entirely. Cut the celebrities out of it entirely. Let Cena and Cody work. Match would have been twice as good, and the outcome and pop would have been twice as big. It would have been that much more if you let Cena actually wrestle Cody. And yeah, he's a heel. He's going to use heel tactics to win. He can use that low blow and get out of there. But still, it would have meant way more had they let Cena do it himself and not have little old Travis Scott, the guy who can't even throw an actual punch in terms of wrestling without hurting someone. Just throw him in the match. It's stupid and it makes no sense. I don't know. Horrible booking decision, in my opinion. Right guy won. Wrong way to go about it. And that was a lot of this card. But that's my rant about how WrestleMania didn't feel like WrestleMania. But let's go into the details of all the other matches that happened at WrestleMania. So, again, we're going to start off WrestleMania Night 1. Jey Uso versus Gunther. That was the opening match that night. It weirdly went into it as a power struggle between the two, even though we all know that Gunther's way stronger than Jey in terms of just like brute strength. And it was like Jey repeatedly putting Gunther on his butt, maybe because Gunther was underestimating him in the match. Maybe that's what they were trying to portray. I didn't really get it. But Jey was also favoring his arm heavy that match. I think he might have tweaked it somewhere during his entrance. somewhere in there. He was definitely holding it a lot during the match, especially in the beginning. He might have tweaked it. Don't really know. He worked through it, so it is what it is. The match really wasn't anything crazy. It was more so just Jay fighting as an underdog. That's really all it was. It wasn't a crazy match because Jay's not a crazy wrestler. Like there's nothing special about that match outside of the fact that Jay Uso won the world title. And again, I don't feel like Jay Uso should have choked him out. I feel like Jay should have just won off of 3 Uso splashes. If he was going to do it like that, and they were going to be like, okay, cool, 3 Uso splashes, that's going to be the end of the match. And they would have ended it there, cool, fantastic. Having him choke out Gunther, I understand the reasoning behind it. I understand the reasoning behind it. He choked out your brother. He choked you out. He bloodied your brother. He made you look stupid. He's beaten you 3 times, all for the World Heavyweight Championship. I get it. You want to make a statement. You want to prove a point. Like, this was the whole I'm not scared of you anymore thing. I get it. But choking him out wasn't the way to go about it. Because one, it didn't even look like a good choke. 2, Gunther tapped out way too fast. 3, I don't think Gunther should have tapped. I feel like Gunther should have went to sleep. Simple as that. I don't feel like Gunther's a guy that taps out. And if I'm being correct, this is the third time. Yeah, the third time Gunther has lost a match since he's been on the main roster. Gunther has not been pinned or submitted unless it's at a pay-per-view since he's debuted on the main roster. His 3 losses are Cody at Crown Jewel for the Crown Jewel Championship, Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 40 for the IC Championship, Jey Uso via submission at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey Uso, the same guy who's not known as a submission artist, and when he was using the submission, he was in the tag team as a heel with his brother. And that wasn't even a finishing move for them. They just used it to put people on the shelf. Inconsistencies in the plan that throw it off and make it look weird in the finished product. I'm just ranting. The New Day are now 8-time tag team champions, 9-time, something like that. They're up there. They beat the War Raiders. The War Raiders came out looking like they had bootleg cardboard gear on. Again, no one had a WrestleMania worthy entrance outside of Seth Rollins. We're going to talk about that later, though. But their match was all right. It was a bit more fast paced. I think it woke up the crowd a little bit when Ivar started doing his like big man, they can do little man stuff, like do his cartwheel and his moonsault and all that. He almost broke his neck doing that moonsault because he slipped. I'm glad that he caught himself, but he definitely almost broke his neck on that moonsault. And then they botched their finish. The New Day, my bad. The New Day botched their finish, kind of. Just the backbreaker stomp. He definitely stayed on him for a little bit too long, so it might have messed something up. It just looked a little bit rough, but other than that, really wasn't. Again, wasn't a really special match. It wasn't a. It looked more like a feeder match than anything, but again, right team won. At WrestleMania, it really didn't feel like the crowd was behind the War Raiders. So good on New Day. Hopefully they can find a team on Raw that can give them a good program. Because right now, Raw's tag division seems really weak compared to SmackDown's. Because they put all their effort into building SmackDown's tag division and not Raw's. Which was weird because if I remember correctly, SmackDown originally didn't have a tag match scheduled for WrestleMania. They had to do that last minute, and they made it a 4-way TLC match where Tommaso Ciampa messed his chin up, which is why he has no beard now. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, though. They might not have had a WrestleMania match because I didn't watch the entirety of Night 2. So if that tag match didn't happen, let me know. But yeah, New Day, new tag champs. Rey Fenix replaced Rey Mysterio in his match against El Grande Americano. I believe it was said it was due to Ray having an injury. Phoenix lost anyway. Again, it's Ray Phoenix, and I genuinely do think that it's just Chad Gable. If somehow it's not Chad Gable, they found somebody who has the exact same body as Chad Gable. If it's somehow not Chad, you know, but they put on a good match. Ray lost obviously to the little metal plate in the mask that for some reason no one's caught on to yet. But benefit to being a heel, they don't catch on to it until it's too late. So that was interesting. Don't know when Ray's going to come back. Wish him a speedy recovery though. Speaking of injuries, Bayley got replaced at WrestleMania by a returning Becky Lynch, who went on the next night to turn heel because at WrestleMania they won the tag belts against Liv and Raquel and then lost them the next night on Raw back to Liv and Raquel. And then Becky proceeded to turn heel on Lyra right after that. But Lyra and Becky winning that match made Lyra the first woman to hold two championships at one time since 2021, at least on the main roster, since 2021 when Bayley and Sasha did it together, when they had the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championships as well as the Tag Team Championships together, back when they had that little power trip going when Bayley first turned heel, which was probably Bayley's like peak, at least in terms of her like role model gimmick. But yeah, apparently Bayley's out to injury as well. I don't know if she's actually hurt or if they just took her off the card for Becky returning. But if they were going to bring Becky back to tag with Lyra, they should have just brought Becky back earlier on in the storyline to where it would have originally been Becky and Lyra going into WrestleMania instead of advertising it as Bayley just to pull her out last minute. Kind of sucks. But yeah, that's my take on that. I don't like that they took it away from Bayley like that, but I guess it is what it is. Dirty Dom won the IC title in the Fatal 4-Way match at WrestleMania. Braun Breaker defending against Penta, Finn, and Dominic Mysterio. Obviously, Dom and Finn have been going at it in terms of like having beef in the Judgment Day and all that. Dom finally slimed Finn out though for that IC title. Good on him, as he should have done. Kind of got tired of Finn making him feel less than and all that, all because he wanted to add somebody else to the group. Like Finn's not even an original member of the group. No one in that group is an original member of the group. The originals all got kicked out. Finn kicked out Edge, and then Dom turned. They kicked out Rhea and Damian in the same night. So, yeah, like everyone in the group is not original. It's all people that Finn brought in or Dom brought in, you know? Like Dom brought in Liv. I don't know where Carlito came from, but Liv in turn brought in Raquel, and then Finn brought in JD. JD's back actually. JD just came back on the Raw after Mania after puncturing his lung on that announce table from that table spot a few months ago. If you remember, he did a springboard moonsault to the outside. He missed it obviously and ended up hitting the edge of the table really hard. He ended up finishing the match. Props to him, but it did not look like he was coming back anytime soon. And when he said he had a punctured rib, punctured lung, I didn't think he was coming back as fast as he did. But he came back to help Dom retain out on the Raw after Mania against Penta. So that was cool. It's good to see him back in the ring, doing fine. Good on him. Joe Hendry of TNA, the TNA World Champion, answered Randy Orton's open challenge. And personally, I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that it was Joe. Mainly for the fact that I know they've been teasing Aleister Black coming back for a while, so I wanted it to be Aleister to answer the open challenge, but then Randy would have lost to WrestleMania. And I know people were like, oh, you can't have Randy lose WrestleMania. He's been losing at all these pay-per-views since he came back. And I'm like, I understand that. But at the same time, you can't have Aleister Black come back and have him lose. So I guess putting Joe Hendry up there was easy enough. It was basically a squash match. Joe Hendry got some excuse me, he got some kind of offense in against Randy before getting dropped with the RKO. Randy ended up praising him. He was like, "Hey, you made it. Be proud of yourself." Raised him up to the crowd and all that good stuff. RKO'd him again, obviously, because it was Randy. And then he did Joe Hendry's little like turnaround pose thing, but did his little Viper pose after. So it was a nice little fun thing. I get it, working relationship. They could have picked a better guy for Randy to have a longer match though. Or if they were going to use the world champion, I feel like they could have put him up there for a little bit longer. But apparently that was the plan the entire time, and Randy wanted it to be Joe. So as long as they're happy, I guess it's all that matters. As long as the workers are happy, it's all good. Let's see what else we got. Io Sky has retained against Bianca and Rhea. Honestly, glad she retained. Not for the fact that I don't like Bianca or Rhea. I like both of them as wrestlers. I just don't want to see them with a championship again right now. Because for the last couple years, it's been those two kind of like just juggling the title. Like you remember when Sasha and Charlotte, they would bounce the title around a lot. Like it would be like every other pay per view or every other Raw. They like one of them would lose championship to the other one, or they would have the stipulation match and somebody would lose it there. It's that this their version of that, except it was never them bouncing the title off of each other, but it would always be one of them or both of them on different brands who was always a champion. Especially going into like the main pay per views like SummerSlam and Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and all that. It made sense because they're your top stars, they're your biggest attractions. But I think Paul Heyman said it best. If you put people around your main event people and you put them there and you make them seem like threats to the main event people, those people are now seen as main event people. And if you continue to do that and you continue feeding people from the lower card and the mid card into the main event scene, everybody on your roster is a main event talent. No one is just a mid carder or a low carder. No one's just a jobber, you know? Like, no one's just a guy that takes the pin every time they're in the ring. No one's just that guy that's always going to be in the IC or US division, you know? Like, anybody can be that person that goes into the world title contention. And it's the same thing with the women. If they funnel it in the right way, because their roster is stacked, like, only division that even comes close to rivaling WWE's right now is AEW's, and to be honest, is still not even that close. Like WWE is doing something really good with their women's division right now, and if they book it the right way and they use all the talent that they have properly, everyone in there can be a top contender. Everyone in there can be a big name. Like even the people in NXT, like when they call Roxy up finally, when they actually call her up, if they continue to treat her the way that she was treated at NXT, like, hey, she's a problem. Like, she can take a world title if she really wanted to. And they continue to present her like that on the main roster, she'll be fine. And it's the same thing with everybody else in NXT. Because that's been a big problem with NXT call-ups recently. They get called up and then they flop. But from what I'm hearing, Triple H has said that it's because they get complacent. They make it to the main roster and they feel like, oh, we've made it. So they don't train as hard. They get out of shape. They're not getting used to the on the road lifestyle of being on the main roster, which is why they don't get utilized as much as they did at NXT. Because at NXT, you're just at the PC all the time. You're doing all your training there. But when you're on the road, you're doing it spontaneously at any gym you can find while you're, getting ready for your shows and all that. So apparently, most of the reason why they don't get the time that they're supposed to, or the time that we feel like they're supposed to as fans, is because they're getting complacent. So maybe it's something that the wrestlers themselves have to take accountability on. But I do believe in the Paul Heyman thing of if you treat everybody as if they're main event, the people will see them as main event. And the people will believe that everybody is a top tier talent. Everybody is a main event level contender. Everybody can hold a world title. It's just a matter of when. And it's that element of unpredictability that makes wrestling fun, you know? Like, Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble was unpredictability. It was fun. Jey Uso winning the World Championship was unpredictable. Was the way he won it weird? Yes. Was it also unpredictable? Yes. Was it the wrong decision? In my opinion, yes, most definitely. He should not have won like that. He should have won by pin. Or if he was going to choke him out, Gunther should have went to sleep. We've been over that already. I can't rant on that again. Anyways, I don't know. I have a lot of stuff that I can rant on when it comes down to wrestling. That's just because it means a lot to me as someone who wants to be a professional wrestler. So when I see stuff like that and it looks like it's not at its full potential of what it can be, especially in terms of like a WrestleMania or something like that, or like a match at WrestleMania, and then it feels like only a select handful were given the attention that they should have been given. So nothing at Mania feels special. Then, then I kind of have a problem with it, you know. Like I've been watching wrestling since I was a kid, so this stuff means a lot to me. But yeah, like that's all I got about that one. Dang. Um, Going into the Raw after WrestleMania into more detail. Oh wait, no, I forgot. The one match at WrestleMania that was like really well done and was probably the highlight of both WrestleManias, night 1 and 2, was Roman versus Seth versus Punk. Now, this match I was genuinely excited for because, as you guys know, I predicted a double cross at WrestleMania, which happened. Which happened. There's going to be a recurring theme of my predictions coming true in this episode. Just give us some time. We got a lot of wrestling to talk about this week. So, first off, let's talk about entrances. Seth Rollins seems to be the only person that realizes, hey, we're at WrestleMania, we're performing, and we're in Vegas. You know, like Seth's entrance, Seth had a two-stage entrance. He came out as one thing, took that off, had a whole nother fit on, and then he had a bunch of other stuff going on with it as well. Like his entrance was a WrestleMania worthy entrance. Now, obviously, Roman Reigns, his entrance is very simple, but it works at WrestleMania. His entrance is not to directly compare it to, it's similar to The Undertaker's. You don't have to change it up at all. It works. It fits the character, no matter the age, no matter how long the gimmick's been going on. It fits the character, it fits the person, and it fits any stage. Undertaker's entrance fit everywhere. It fit at SummerSlam, it fit at the Royal Rumble, it fit at Mania. Roman Reigns' entrance just so happens to be the same way. Guys like Randy Orton, guys like John Cena, guys like Batista, guys like, did I say Triple H already? Guys like Shawn Michaels. Their entrances already fit WrestleMania. It just so happened that every so now and then they happen to turn it up a little bit. They happen to add a little bit of spice to their entrance that made it a little bit different. That made it a little bit more worthy of that moment. Like the time The Miz went into WrestleMania as the WWE champion against John Cena, WrestleMania 27, when they first built up Rock versus Cena, when they first made that build into WrestleMania 28, it was because The Rock was the host of Mania. Rock ended up costing Cena that match. But Miz came out of that match. Mind you, Miz has a very simplistic entrance, especially at that time. His entrance was very basic. He had his name in giant bubbles. Actually, no, it wasn't his name. It was the word awesome in giant white bubble letters that he came out and separated. Very simple, but very sick to look at, especially at a stage like WrestleMania. MVP's entrance. If you remember MVP's entrance when he was in WWE, when he was like actively like wrestling, when he was still like the US champion and all that, like slimmed down MVP with the cornrows, when they like announced him by his full name, Montel Vontavious Porter, that MVP. You know, he came out of this little like time bubble. It wasn't a time bubble. It was like it's the equivalent of walking out of a tunnel when you're playing a sport. Like when you walk out of the tunnel in the basketball game or when you walk out of the tunnel in a football game. You know, he had that. And it fit the aesthetic of his character, which was the most valuable player, MVP. It fit, you know? And then they allowed him to use that at WrestleMania. Like he had that entrance in the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania. Mind you, Money in the Bank entrances are like that. They're quick, they're snappy, they're in there because the match is meant to be the focus, not the entrances. They gave him the time to have that entrance where he came out through his little portable because it was that important to his character. Point I'm trying to make, if you're gonna have an entrance at WrestleMania, make it mean something, you know? Now, I'm not saying everybody at WrestleMania gets a crazy top 10 entrance. But if the match genuinely means something, give them that entrance. Like, give them a little bit extra pyro. Give them some props and stuff to work with, you know? Like, don't just let them go out there like it's a normal episode of Raw or if it's like a live event or something like that. Again, I rant a lot when it comes down to wrestling. Back to this triple threat match. It was a great triple threat match altogether. Easily best night of both. It was the best match of both nights. Easily. Easily. But the double cross, which I predicted, Paul Heyman turned not only on Punk, but on Roman Reigns and left with one Seth freaking Rollins, which I said would happen because Seth Rollins would benefit the most from the Paul Heyman rub. Let's go back in time. The original Paul Heyman guys, going back in time, Wild Samoans. Tag team champions. Dominant as freak. Let's go forward in time a little bit. Paul Heyman guy, Rob Van Dam. ECW World Champion. Pretty sure he's the longest reigning ECW World Champion of all time. If I remember correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Mind you, still while being a Paul Heyman guy, won Money in the Bank, cashed it in on John Cena at his own pay-per-view, ECW One Night Stand 2006. His rules, his venue, ballroom, Hammerstein Ballroom. ECW's most famous venue. The entire crowd is against John Cena and for Rob Van Dam. And what does Rob Van Dam do? He walks in, cashes in his briefcase, and wins the WWE Championship. Who was by his side? Paul Heyman. Let's fast forward a little bit more. Actually, well, yeah, no. Let's fast forward a little bit more. Brock Lesnar. Now, yes, he was already a Paul Heyman guy earlier on, before Rob Van Dam and all that happened. Well, before the ECW One Night Stand thing happened. He was already a Paul Heyman guy, but Brock Lesnar left. Brock Lesnar had left. So Rob Van Dam was the Paul Heyman guy at that point. Brock comes back. Brock becomes the new Paul Heyman guy. What happens? Brock immediately gets the WWE Championship. Brock starts to become a monster. Brock starts breaking people's arms. Brock immediately gets into a feud with John Cena, Triple H. Gets himself in a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. Gets himself into multiple matches with John Cena, street fights. Did he win all of them? No. But the point is, those matches made Brock Lesnar bigger than he already was. Why? Not because Brock Lesnar is good in the ring, not because Brock Lesnar is good in the mic, but because he had the right manager, Paul Heyman. Let's fast forward a little bit more when Brock Lesnar is older and more tenured in his career. There's this thing called the Universal Championship now. What happens? Brock Lesnar strolls in. Who strolls in with him? Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar becomes Universal Champion, becomes the longest reigning Universal Champion of all time at that current moment. We're not talking about Roman Reigns just yet. Beats guys like Goldberg, beats guys like Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, Kane, Braun Strowman. Did he wrestle much? No. Did he hold that title for a long time? Sure did. Every time he defended that title, did you think it was going anywhere? No, you didn't. Why? Because it's Brock Lesnar. Not because Brock Lesnar was bullying people in the ring. Obviously, that played a part in it. But it was because his mouthpiece sold him to the people that he was a monster, that nobody can touch that man. All right, now let's take it back a little bit more in time. CM Punk. Arguably the most famous Paul Heyman guy. Pairs up with Paul Heyman, becomes the WWE champion. Holds it for record time at that time as well. Holds it for record time. And mind you, this only elevated Punk more because Punk already is good on the mic. Not good, just great. Punk is one of the best of the modern generation on the mic. When it comes down to the modern generation in terms of mic skills, Punk, Cena, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre is in there now. And in terms of wrestlers, I can't really put anybody else in there for real. Those four are just on another level when it comes down to talking. Like, yeah, Seth is good on the mic, but he's not that good on the mic. Paul Heyman just added to the factor of CM Punk being good in the mic and being good in the ring at that time. Yes, Punk is a bit older now. He's a bit slower, so he's not as efficient as he was, but he has caught up his ring muscle ward off. He has been putting on bangers since the Drew McIntyre feud, which I think happened before Seth. Maybe it was after Seth. Don't remember. Either way. Roll forward a little bit. We haven't seen Paul Heyman in a minute. Haven't seen Paul Heyman in a good while. Brock Lesnar's not wrestling right now. All of a sudden, we get a heel turn from Roman Reigns. Who's behind him, you ask? Why, none other than Paul Heyman. And what happened? Please tell me what happened. You know what? Don't answer that question. I'll answer it for you. Roman Reigns dominated WWE for 4 years, carried the company for 4 years with leukemia. You know, that part irritates me a little bit with fans because they're like, oh, yeah, he held the belt for so long. He held the belt for so long. It's really not that bad because half of it was during the pandemic. Do you not realize that he was wrestling during the pandemic? Like, he's not one of the most people, he's not one of the most prone people to get sick, especially in a time like that. That just added to what he was already doing. So now you have Paul Heyman associated with a heel Roman Reigns, which one made Roman so much better on the mic, two made him much better in the ring, and three gave him a mouthpiece, which is something that people said he needed for a long time. And once he got it, man, did it make a difference. It took Roman from, yeah, he's a great worker to, yeah, he's the face of the business. Yeah, you don't talk about WWE without talking about Roman Reigns. And it's going to be like that for a good minute. What was his reign? 13,000 days? 1,300, 1,200, something like that. Doesn't matter. He broke 1,000 days. You know how insane that is in today's wrestling? Nobody does that. The closest reign to what Roman Reigns did was Gunther when he was in NXT UK as the UK champion. Mind you, those 4 years, Roman never got pinned, Roman never tapped out. If Roman was to lose a match, it was from DQ. Roman only started losing when there were flaws in his plan and his family started to crumble, and everyone can see that Roman Reigns was actually human, which was all a part of the story. But nonetheless, so with all that backstory of the people that Paul Heyman has elevated and gave the alley oop to make them absolute menaces, you know? And to make them that guy and to get them to tap into something different. You really think we need Roman or Seth or Punk with that again? I don't think so. I think they already got solidified by having that rub in their moment. I think Roman Reigns is just fine without Paul Heyman. I think CM Punk is just fine without Paul Heyman. I am glad that Seth Rollins has Paul Heyman. Why? Because just like how Punk was, Seth is already good on the mic. Seth is already great in the ring. Man's a workhorse. Now he has the greatest mouthpiece in the history of professional wrestling. And if you want to debate that, come and find me. I stand on that. Paul Heyman is the greatest mouthpiece in the history of professional wrestling. He is now aligned with Seth Rollins. That makes Seth Rollins a very, very dangerous man. That makes a very, very logical claim that Seth Rollins is probably your next World Heavyweight Champion. That makes it very logical that Seth Rollins doesn't let go of that World Heavyweight Championship for a good little while. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on another year-long run with that thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they let him run Raw with the Iron Fist for a good little while. Oh, and the cherry on top, he has Braun Breaker now too. Yeah, the monster himself. Yeah, he has Braun Breaker now. So I like the comparison that people made on Twitter of they're building Evolution 2.0. And they said they already have their Batista, they already have their Triple H. Paul Heyman's obviously their Ric Flair. And they said, who would their Randy Orton be? And a lot of people said it would be Sami. Because obviously Sami Zayn he gave a little tease that he might turn on Jay because he came back on Raw when Jay was doing his little championship celebration and all that. I don't know if Sami is the right choice in that situation. A lot of people said Austin Theory. A lot of people said Carmelo Hayes. To be completely honest with you, I don't know who would fit that role yet. I honestly didn't think Seth Rollins would be getting affection. Am I glad that he's getting one? Yes, because it's slowly building him up to be this untouchable force. It's going to be very similar to when Seth joined the Authority and he was WWE's golden boy that you couldn't lay hands on without fighting through everything and everyone to get to him. Ask John Cena what happened. Lost his championship and got a broken nose. Ask Big Show what happened. Got fired countless times. Hey, man. Ask Daniel Bryan what happened. Going against the Authority, man. It wasn't a fun time for anybody. But it was great for them. Great for Seth Rollins. Heist of the century, WrestleMania 31. He cashes in the middle of Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, stomps both of them, pins Roman Reigns, wins the World Championship. Goes on to feud with John Cena and Sting for the WWE Championship and the United States Championship. He fought for both in the same night. Oh, wait, let me run back a little bit. He wrestles John Cena at SummerSlam for both championships. Cena's the US champion, Seth is the WWE champion. Seth not only breaks this man's nose, he takes his championship, making Seth Rollins the first man and only man to ever hold the WWE Championship and United States Championships consecutively. Meaning at the same time for those who don't understand English. Man, I'm having a little bit of a heel moment today. It is what it is. It is what it is. Fast forward the Night of Champions. I want to say this is what, around 2014? Something like that. 2014? Yeah, because that's when Sting was the pre-order bonus for 2K15. Yeah. Yeah, Casino was the cover of the game. Yeah, my time frames, right? Night of Champions, 2014. He defends his United States Championship against John Cena. He also defends his WWE Championship against Sting. Now, sadly, he lost his United States Championship that night. But later on, he crippled Sting. Crippled Sting. People didn't think Sting would wrestle ever again. Sting didn't think he would ever wrestle again. Did Seth care? No. Buckle bomb, stomp, get him out of there. See, Seth Rollins with the right pieces is a very, very dangerous man. Like, when he has the right people around him, Seth Rollins is a top tier player. More so than he already is. If you were to put him on a list by himself, most people would probably say, yeah, he's A tier. You give him a decent faction with good protection and make him the focal point of it, Seth goes from A to S tier immediately. Same thing with Roman. Except Roman at first was probably more in the B tier range. Yeah, he's a good guy, but it's just a character that I can't get behind. Give him a faction, give him a mouthpiece, shoots up immediately. Mind you, Roman Reigns hasn't come down since. Roman Reigns is going to stay in S tier until he retires, which probably is sooner than we think. Because he definitely said when he loses the wise man, you won't see the tribal chief anymore. Now, do we know if that means the character or him in general? No. Did he come out at WrestleMania out of bloodline colors? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Was that saying something? Maybe. Did he come to Raw wearing a black and white shirt again instead of black and red like he normally does? Yes, he did. Is that saying something? Maybe it is. But the point is, Seth Rollins is dangerous again. Seth Rollins is a major problem again in terms of the main event picture and chasing a world championship. If I was Jey Uso, I would be very, very cautious about how I tread with this championship reign because it might end very soon. And by very soon, I mean backlash. Unless they let it go to Punk and Punk and Reigns versus Rollins and Breaker at Backlash, which is probably the more reasonable option considering that's the storyline that they're telling right now, and that Punk and Reigns are going to have to team up even though they don't like each other. But after all that's said and done, go ahead and send Punk over there. Not Punk. Send Rollins over there. Give Rollins a strap. Let him hold it for like a year. Let him build that faction up. Let him build that ego that we used to see all the time out of him that made him so hateable and despisable as a heel, which made him such a good heel. You know? Let him tap back into that. Because he already has it with this D1 hater energy. It's fantastic. Now he has Paul Heyman. Ramp it up 10 times. Now he has somebody that can do all the heavy work for him in terms of Braun Breaker. Ramp it up even more. Let that man work. That was my rant on Seth Rollins. All right. Man, I am a certified ranter when it comes down to certain things. I'm telling y'all, man, I'm passionate about this wrestling stuff. When I have fuel to talk about things, I can go for a real long time. We still have more wrestling, which is crazy. I told you guys it was a good episode this week. Stand and Deliver. Stephanie Vaquera retained her championship in her fatal 4-way match against Julia, Jordan Grace, and Jada Parker. Right person won. Pretty sure Roxanne's going to get called up pretty soon. I think Julia's going to stay in NXT. I think Jordan's going to stay in NXT, and they're going to have those kind of be the top three for that world championship, or for the NXT Women's Championship, I should say. And it'll kind of fluctuate between those three until it kind of ends up with Jordan with the strap, and then Julia and Stephanie will slowly get called up. But I think Roxy's getting called up pretty soon. She's been taking a lot of losses on NXT. So that'll be interesting to see. Sol Ruka is now the new North American champion, somebody that a lot of people have been rooting for to become North American champion for quite a while now. So good on her. I'm glad she has it. I look forward to her matches because she's actually really good in the ring, and her matches are really fun. Like the Soul Snatcher spot off the ladder into the double Soul Snatcher from the corner, gnarly spot. I like it. So I look forward to seeing Sol Ruka as North American champion. Hopefully she has a lengthy run. Hopefully. And then hopefully we get Zarya turning on there and we get a heel Zarya North American champion run and let her hold that thing for a while. Because Zarya is a beast if you guys don't know her from outside of professional wrestling. I had to look her up outside of NXT when they first said she was coming because I didn't know who she was. Her original name was Delta. She was a monster. Like an actual monster. Her finisher is an F5. Like, what, bro? Like, her finisher is an F5. She spears people. Like, her moveset looks like how somebody would make a creative character in 2K. Her regular moveset is nothing but finisher spam. And it's fantastic to see because she just bullies people and it's like really fun to watch. So I like Zarya. Let's see what else happened. Fraxium finally lost to Hank and Tank. They finally lost the tag belts and it was to Hank and Tank. You know what? Good on Hank and Tank. I'm glad Fraxium didn't break up. It was a good match all around. That table spot was crazy. He did a suicide dive all the way across the little like barricade, not the barricade. He did a suicide dive. They moved out of the way, And instead of him like smacking the table, he just belly flopped onto the table. Table didn't break. He just kind of just like face planted onto the table. So that was interesting to see. Looked crazy, but top tier spot, honestly. So good on Hank and Tank for winning. Hopefully this leads to Fraxium getting called up. I would prefer that they get put on Raw just so Raw has a little bit more depth to their division. And then during the draft, they bring some SmackDown's teams over to Raw and send some of Raw teams over to SmackDown just so the Raw teams can get built up more. And so the SmackDown teams, can build up Raw because Raw's tag team division looks weak right now, which sucks because the tag division is usually always fire when it's done the right way. Hence, SmackDown's tag team division. Either way, Ricky Saints retained his championship against Ethan Page, as I'm pretty sure we all predicted. Like I said, when Ethan won the title, not when Ethan won the title, when Ricky won the title, he's red hot with the crowd. Everyone loves him. They're not taking that strap off him anytime soon. Genuinely don't know who's going to be the one to take it off of him. It may be Wesley. It may be Ethan. It may be somebody that they like bring in later on. But as of right now, I don't see anybody that has enough heat as a heel to take it off of him, if that makes sense. So good on Ricky, and I'm pretty sure they had a good match regardless. Let's see. Oba, Javon, and Trick had a banger of a match. Banger of a match. Only sad part is that everyone was behind Javon, me included, and he ended up taking the pin again. Oba retained, which was my secondary prediction. But my primary prediction was that, brain work, please. Main prediction was that Javon was going to win, Obviously, that didn't come true, but it was a great match regardless. Also, an all-black main event. All-black main event, which is fantastic. Great for the community and all that. Great for the people. Even the ref was black. So it was Oba, Trick, Javon, and I think his name was Daniel. I want to say his name started with a D. Please correct me on what his name is in the comments, because it doesn't say right with me that I don't know his name either. But if you guys know his name, let me know in the comments. Either way, all black main event, great main event. Oba retained. Send Trick to the main roster at this point, or just stop having him fight for the NXT Championship at this point. And then Javon, honestly, Javon might be the one to take the North American strap off of Ricky. If Ricky holds that belt for a while and they want to make it seem like Oba needs a new challenger, which kinda is what happened on the NXT after Stand and Deliver, because Trick and Oba had another segment, which is why I keep saying stop letting Trick fight for the NXT Championship, because he keeps trying to make the point, oh, you didn't pin me, so I still got to get my shot. I still can beat you. You didn't win the match. You still lost, Trick. I love Trick, but like this tweener thing that he has going on doesn't work for him. Him being a heel does not work. It's not him. He needs to go back to being a full-on babyface. So unless they're gonna make Oba Femi a monstrous heel, like a heel, and turn Trick back into a babyface, full-time babyface, let him leave the NXT Championship storyline for right now. Let him go do something else. Let him go do something else. Please. Stop putting this man in this picture just for him to lose. And even if he did have him win, I don't want to see him with the NXT Championship right now. He already had it twice. That's like the golden number for NXT Championship reigns. 2 and get on with your life. Samoa Joe, 2 and he left. Actually, no, I think Joe got 3. Yeah, Joe got 3. Joe got lucky. Joe got 3 and he got out of there. Shinsuke, 2? Or maybe just 1. I don't remember. Finn had 2. Yep. Finn had 1 when he was early on, came back, rebuilt his whole character, won another one, and then left and went on his business. Oh, man. Either way, Joe Hendry showed up at NXT. And I'm glad Oba said what he said to Joe because I thought the same thing when he said what he said. Because Joe said, I have business I need to take care of with the NXT champion. And Oba's response to that was, don't make the same mistake Moose made. I don't think you understand how much of a diss that is. That man said, yeah, you're the world champion, but don't make the same mistake your boy made. Because mind you, Moose is the X Division champion. Moose is also a TNA wrestler. Moose pulled up from TNA, challenged Oba, and got dropped. That was a warning shot to TNA from Oba. So Joe pulling up and saying that he wants smoke with Oba, Oba's just trying to save that man the embarrassment. Because we know that Joe Hendry ain't beating Oba Femi. We all know it. Do I want to see Joe Hendry get put down by Oba? Possibly. Might be a little fun thing to watch. Do I need to see it happen? No. No, I don't. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Either way, Oba's going to put that man down if it does happen. That's just it. That's just how it is. That's just how it is at this point. You step to Oba, you get put down. Because the way that they're booking this man, Oba Femi is bulletproof. That man is the equivalent of Godzilla. It don't matter what you throw at that man, he's still gonna come back and put you on your neck. And then he gonna pull up the next week and say you are a worthy opponent, but you still want nothing. He gonna praise you and disrespect you in your face at the same time. And that's why we love Oba Femi. That was NXT though. NXT Stand and Deliver and NXT. For some weird reason, the shows after the pay-per-views are always better than the show outside of NXT. Stand and Deliver for some reason is always better than most pay-per-views outside of like PLEs and all that. For some reason, Stand and Deliver is always like amazing. Good on NXT for that though. Because Stand and Deliver was honestly better than WrestleMania was. Like the Raw after WrestleMania felt like WrestleMania Night 3. Which they really needed. With all the surprises and stuff. Our last little bit of wrestling. I feel like I've been talking about this for at least like 30 minutes now. I don't know how long this thing's been on for. But let's see. Oh, I lied. We still have a little bit more NXT. My other prediction came in. Stacks turned on Tony. Stacks has turned his back on the family and he packed up Luca. He slimed that man out in the desert on some Scarface type stuff. He called him out to the desert. Luca pulled up, told him, hey, you got to apologize. You got to fix what's going on. You got to fix what you did. Bro told him to be quiet. Asked him if you knew why I brought you out here. Ain't say nothing else. That was the end of the promo. That was the end of the video. They went to commercial break after that. That man Luca ain't coming back. Luca's gone, brother. They packed him up. The same way that No Quarter Catch Crew packed up Drew Gulak when he had those allegations against him. That's the same way they packed up Luca, bro. Got that man out of there with the quickness. Genuinely, I didn't think they were going to make Stacks that much of a monster. But hey, I'm cool with it. The underboss having beef with the Don. Let's see it, man. Let's see it. I'm all for it. Because it seems like Channing's actually somewhat good on the mic. So, I'm going to let him have his fun. Let him have his fun. Either way, that was NXT. Now going on to AEW. MJF teased a Hangman MJF 3. For those who don't know, Max and Hangman have had 2 matches already. They are 1 apiece. And this was after, Max had another run in with the Hurt Syndicate, trying to join the Hurt Syndicate and all that. So he ended up pulling the thing where he was like, all right, all I need is 3 thumbs up for you guys, and I'm in. You got a thumbs up from Shelton, thumbs up from MVP. Shelton made it clear that he only got a thumbs up because of MVP, which Max was cool with. You got some little Montel chants going on, called Bobby Lashley Bob. Like Max's interaction with the Hurt Syndicate is actually hilarious, but he got a Bob chant started. That was cool. Bobby Lashley was almost about to break character because he got a crowd chanting Bob. So that was funny to see. He tried to bribe Bobby with the car that he pulled it up in. Bobby ended up taking the car and then giving him a thumbs down. So Max still is not in the Hurt Syndicate, but he ended up pulling up on Hangman during his interview about the Owen and all that, talking about Kyle Fletcher and all that. And he basically said that it's just verbal jabs between them. They argue like siblings, but it's always good promos between the two of them. So if they do have a match 3, hopefully they have a match 3 sometime down the line. I look forward to it. I do think Hangman's gonna win the Owen though. I think Hangman wins the Owen. If he doesn't, then Kyle's probably winning it. Oh wait, no, because whoever wins that match goes against Will. So if Hangman doesn't win that match, then Will's winning the Owen. But if Hangman does win the match, then Hangman's probably winning the Owen. So yeah, that'll be fun to see. Other side of that, FTR just bullied the Rock and Roll Express. I believe it's the Rock and Roll Express. Yeah, but they stole a page out of Randy Orton's book. They're, instead of being called the Living Legends, they're now the Living Legend Killers. So if you're a legend and you're still alive, FTR's job is to drop you on your neck and get you up out of there. Fantastic, honestly. They also have Stokely Hathaway as their manager now. Fantastic. Because Stokely Hathaway is actually really funny. Stokely Hathaway is a great manager. So Stokely and FTR is going to be great to see. This pretty much also confirms that FTR will get a championship match pretty soon, and they more than likely will win it. Except they can't go against the Hurt Syndicate right now because the Hurt Syndicate is still they're tweeners. They're tweeners. The crowd loves them, but they're also tweeners. They beat up baby faces, but the crowd loves them. So that's that. Master P pulled up to be in the ring with Samoa Joe when he called out Jon Moxley, because he responded to Jon Moxley, who specifically called out Samoa Joe because Joe is the reason why the Death Riders have lost 3 straps of gold in terms of the Trios Championship. That match should not have happened, though, because in all reality, both teams were missing one of their members. I believe the Death Riders were missing Wheeler. No, they're missing Pac. They're missing Pac. Is it Pac? Yeah, Pac. He was missing his Pac's out with injury, and then who was out on their side? Oh, the Ops were missing Hook, so they brought Powerhouse Hobbs in. Glad to see Powerhouse Hobbs with gold, but tag match shouldn't have happened unless all team members were there. My personal opinion. Either way, he called Joe out on Collision, saying that he wants to defend the AEW World Championship against Joe. Obviously, Joe accepted, said he's going to choke him out, all that good stuff. Normal Samoa Joe promo. Death Riders came out, stepped Master P. Master P didn't say anything. Master P didn't flinch or anything. And then he basically ordered Joe to choke out Jon Moxley, which ended up happening. And then the Young Bucks came out. The Young Bucks came out, smacked Joe up with a chair. They had a little altercation going on. So that was interesting as well. And then I believe Speedball and Kevin Knight came out. which led to Speedball and Kevin Knight versus the Bucks, and the Bucks won, which makes sense. It's their first match back, I believe. So that was that. We're getting Joe versus Moxley sometime soon, and please, please just let Joe win that match. Let Joe win the match, please, please. Like, yeah, have somebody who can actually legitimize that championship again immediately after winning it. Y'all had it with Swerve and you let the Bucks mess it up. So if you're gonna have Joe versus Moxley and you're gonna have it soon, let Joe win. So when All In comes around, whoever wins the Owen goes against Joe. We can either get Hangman versus Joe, or we can get Will versus Joe. Those are the only two matches I can see happening right now. If it comes down to Will Ospreay or Hangman versus Jon Moxley, I'm gonna get upset. Tired of seeing Jon Moxley with that stupid briefcase. So stupid. Either way, patriarchy business. Christian Cage and Nick Wayne had another altercation. Nick Wayne actually just won the ROH Television Championship. Goated. Great for him. Did what he had to do. Did it himself at the same time. No help from the patriarchy. Great on him. Christian Cage came in, tried to do what he did to Luchasaurus, and take the television championship away from Nick. Nick, being the person that he is now, and now having grown into his character, stood up for himself and took his championship back. Christian departed by saying, I love my family. So this could be a slow building of, like I said last week, not Christian leaving, but Nick leaving the family. Or this is just, again, Christian putting tough love on bro. It could be a little bit of both. But that was our wrestling segment for this week. It was a long one, but I think it was a good one. Let's get right into the next segment. All right, guys, as you already know, as well as me being a fitness guy and a wrestling fanatic, I'm also a gamer. So if you ever want to catch me gaming, you ever want to catch me playing any random game, any games that you guys suggest me, I just recently got one in the comments yesterday. I'll try to look into that one. But if you ever want to catch me gaming or anything like that, come follow me on Twitch, QC the Don, QCTHEDXN, QCTHEDXN, QC the Don on Twitch, twitch.tv/QC the Don. If you want to see me game. I also have an Instagram page under the same name. Go give it a follow. Let's get into the rest of the episode. All right. So, in terms of fitness this week, I have just had, as of recording this today, I just recently had my first workout post-injury, post-groin strain. I didn't do anything requiring legs. I just did upper body. I did chest today, just to get myself back into the swing of things. Some incline, some chest press, and I did a little bit of shoulders as well, just so I could get warmed up. But all in all, I'm feeling better, feeling really good actually. I just got to get back into the swing of things because it's been a good minute since I've lifted. It's been about a week since I've touched a weight outside of today. So felt weird getting back under that bar, but it felt like that's where I needed to be. So I love going to the gym. I'm glad I can do it again. I'm glad that I'm still able to do it after my injury. So, all is good with that. For this week's fitness segment, I'm going to go a little bit into detail. I'm going to give you guys some tips. I'm going to actually lean into my muscle memory fitness side of things, give you guys some insight on that. So first off, we're going to talk about some ideal workouts for growing different parts of your body. If you are someone like me and your weak point is chest, I suggest you do a lot of incline bench, whether it's dumbbell or Smith. I prefer Smith just because I feel you get better tension there than you do with dumbbells. People prefer dumbbells because they say you get a deeper stretch. It's all preference. Any incline variation, that'll get your upper chest in there like crazy. It'll make your chest look fuller. It'll make it look bigger. In terms of your mid and lower chest, you can go do your regular cable flies. You can do your pec decks, and you'll grow those just fine. It's much easier to get your mid and lower than it is to get your top. If you notice, a lot of bodybuilders, they don't have their top, but they have a really big bottom and a big mid. So it just looks like overlapping, and there's nothing there up top. So their top looks flat where their collarbone is and all that. If you do a lot of incline, it'll fill it out, and you'll look a bit bigger. If your weak point is like shoulders and traps, for terms of your shoulders and getting your lateral head and your rear delts, for lateral heads, I would highly recommend cable lateral flies. Well, cable lateral raises, not lateral flies. Lateral raises on a cable machine. Just because you can be under tension the entire time, there really is no rest time because you're always holding the weight if you're at the right distance, and the weight never actually touches the stack. You have to walk back into it for the weight to actually drop and for you to not be under tension. So I really enjoy doing those. That's what I was doing this morning for my warm up, just to get my shoulders warmed up and loosened up for when I go do chest. Also, tip for doing chest, if you're gonna do chest and you plan on doing a lot of benching, warm your shoulders up first, and do a lot of working sets, well, a lot of warm up sets on your pressing movement before you actually get to your actual working and top set. That way, your muscles are all hot and warmed up, and you don't pop anything, tear anything, break anything when you actually do to go lift a little bit heavier. Just a little tip that I learned. Uh, if you want to go your rear delts, I suggest cable, like side flies, like reverse flies, basically, which you can also do on the pec deck. You would just be reversed, like as opposed to you normally doing it like you're doing chest flies. You would put your stomach on the pad and go outwards instead of coming in. Hopefully that makes sense. Uh, if traps is your weak point, only thing I got for you is shrugs. But make sure you're doing shrugs properly. Slow, focus on that squeeze up top, and then emphasize your stretch on the bottom, control your negative, all that good stuff, eccentric, concentric, all that good stuff. I got to study a little bit more so I can tell you what those words actually mean and all that. But I'll get there. I'll get there. Let's see. If you really want to work on glutes, I recommend maybe leg press or hip abductions, which is the one where you're pushing outwards. The outwards movement of the hip abduction works the sides of your glutes. If you want to like work your actual glute itself, like the back of it and all that good stuff, make it look bigger, I would suggest maybe doing leg press or a specific stance squat, if that makes sense. The In terms of leg pressing, the lower your legs are, the lower your feet are, the more quad dominant you are, and the higher they are, the more hamstring and glute focused you are. So if you want to focus on your glutes, go to a leg press and put your feet a little bit higher than you would normally, or put them a bit like noticeably higher than what you would normally, and you'll definitely feel a large difference. But if you're a quad person in terms of legs, like I am, uh, heavy squats, heavy leg press, like standard stance on all of it, standard foot placement, and a lot of leg extensions. Because at the same time of you getting mass, you want them to be toned as well. So that's why if I ever were to split my leg day up into 2 days, I would have a mass day and a toning day. I have a day for pushing the heavy weight and pressing and all that good stuff. And then I have a day for toning my legs, doing the stretching movements. So my movements like my calf raises, my leg extensions, my hamstring curls, all that good stuff. Focus on the toning and the mass of your leg. Otherwise, it's just going to look weird. It's going to look wonky. Core. Really, you can do anything for core, but that stuff pertains to your diet. If you want your core to really show up, you got to start eating better. You can do as much cardio as you want. Yes, you'll lose weight, but your abs will never show up unless you actually eat right. It's that simple. But that is ideal workouts for specific body parts if you want to grow specific things. Yeah. And to round it all off, I just want to let you know that you can train hard. You can train hard and smart at the same time. You don't have to pick one or the other. You can train hard and smart at the same time if you know what you are doing and you know how to go about it. Now, people think training hard means pushing past failure, pushing extremely heavy weight, low reps, high weight type thing, which, yes, is true. And people think training smart is like the hypertrophy training. So lower weight, higher reps, focus on your stretch, focus on the squeeze. Yes, all true. But training hard but smart is a conglomeration of both. Meaning, yes, I'm going to push this heavy weight, but I'm not just going to push it to push it. I'm going to push it to systemic failure, which just means until my body literally can't push it anymore. And then I'll have a spot behind me that allows me to get a few more assisted reps in. That way I get hypertrophy from those extra reps that I couldn't get on my own. Make sense? But I'm also not going to push myself to a point where I feel like something's going to pop or something's going to break. I'm training smartly, but I'm training hard at the same time. You're training squats. You want to go hard on squats. You normally go crazy hard on barbell squats, and you risk injury all the time because you're on a free bar and sometimes you just can't catch yourself in time. And that risks a quad or an ACL tearing or something like that. Instead of doing that, go to a Smith machine. Put the safeties in place. Go down your normal length. Push yourself again to systemic failure to where you cannot move the weight anymore. And you'll be able to rack it from wherever you are. If you are stuck at that bottom position, you can rack it from the bottom and get out just fine. If you can only get halfway up, you can rack it in the middle and get out just fine. You can't do that on the free bar. You're much more safer squatting on a Smith machine than you are on the free bar. Again, training hard but smart. Very possible. You just have to know what you're doing. That being said, that's all I have for you guys this week. That was Muscle Memory episode 12. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share it to a friend if they're into any of this stuff, or if you just want to help get my name out there. That would be very much so appreciated. Again, give me a follow on Twitch and on Instagram, QC the Don, if you want to see all the gaming content. If you want more fitness tips and tricks like the ones I just gave you at the end of the episode, follow Muscle Memory Fitness on IG. It is linked on the Muscle Memory podcast page, and the podcast page is linked on the fitness page. So if you ever get confused on where to find one or the other, if you're following both, they link you to the other page. Very simple. But hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. I'll catch you guys next week. You guys stay blessed. Peace.